what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Black Belt PD Radio. This solo-sode's a little extra special. So real time, literally just got done running 5 miles, and I've just got so much epic neurochemical magic happening in me from this run that I literally just, came home, touched myself up a little bit, and just wanted to sit down and just get out what was coming up for me in my mind on this run and from my heart. I've said this before, but so much of my specifically my posts and my captions, so that form of writing, because I have kind of several different tones and expressions of writing, but a lot of the posts that I create or solo-sode subjects come from this sort of moving meditation that I get specifically from these long duration runs, right? And so I'm honestly, there's kind of a handful of things that I want to address. So it's going to be a little bit of just, I'm gonna move around basically. So I'm just warning you to be agile, but I know that my community is, and just know that so much of this stuff that I want to talk about and share is really a sense of like channeling, right? All of which I feel intuitively is what you need to hear right now. Is what is going to serve you, to empower you, to support you wherever you are in your life right now. So I think the first thing that I want to talk about, which is a huge subject, is the feeling of rejection. The feeling of rejection, I mean, honestly, it deserves its own solo-sode because it's such a rich subject. But, I think it's very fair to say that each and every one of us has felt, not, if not one time, which I say that kind of as a joke, like several times in our lives, like we've felt rejected, myself deeply included, right? I talk about, this idea that, I kind of move through my life as an underdog, having the heart of an underdog and the mindset of a champion. And where that really comes from is this deep thinking and kind of reflecting back on my life. My childhood had a ton of adversity in it. And throughout my childhood, there were so many epic blessings and gifts and, privileges, extraordinary experiences that were also met with so many insanely, just really brutal challenges, And one thing that, I've felt several times throughout my life is this feeling of being an underdog. It's like, knowing inside that you have everything it takes, but kind of coming in as like second best or coming up short, next to, somebody else. I mean, that definitely happened a lot throughout my career as a makeup artist. I mean, it's freelance, work that I was in, right? So for those of you who are not familiar, that means like you're hired per job, right? So you're an independent contractor, and your work comes, it's like gig after gig kind of thing, right? And you have to hunt for your work, right? So there's always this sense of like competition that's happening, because especially in that realm, because it's, celebrity focus was the arena that I was in, and it's so competitive, right? And so, to get to the top 1%, which I'm very, proud that I did, there was just so much rejection that I had to face along the way, right? So that's just one example, but it stems further back, into my childhood as well. And, I have found so much appreciation in that, because the reason why I say the underdog is so powerful, you guys, because the underdog has to continuously validate itself, right? because you're not getting that, that external validation, on the norm, right? So in order to keep going, you have to push past that rejection. You have to dig deeper into your self-belief, into your self-worth, and ultimately into, your desired outcome, your vision. You have to lean and commit into all of that versus becoming a victim of, any form of rejection. And there's so much power in that. I mean, by now, if you haven't been listening, if this is the beginning of your Black Belt Beauty Radio experience with me, I constantly talk about the importance of self-validation. External validation does have its place. I do feel that it could be a great metric of, kind of performance in business and things like that. But in terms of your self-confidence, your self-worth, and any and all of that stuff, no, it needs to come from within. We need to be able to validate ourselves, because when we are putting our sense of self-worth, our confidence, self-love, all of that stuff, our value, when that is being, when we're receiving that or feeling that as a result of the external, and not the internal, that's a problem, because the external can change, right? The person, the audience, the brand, whoever it is, whatever it is, that variable can change, right? But you are you until you're out of here. So if you can cultivate that for yourself, that's real power, right? And then anything that comes outside, right? So all the external validation that you receive from the external it's a beautiful bonus. And in fact, I believe that when we are able to self-validate and really cultivate that self-worth and that self-confidence and that self-love, I mean, that's the energy that we're putting out in the world, right? So we're going to attract more of that and likely be validated in a lot of those ways as well from the external. So that's my, that's kind of like a bite-size take on self-validation. But back to the underdog and to rejection, I think that when you are someone, especially, I talk about this all the time, like being a path creator, and you're someone who's really just stretching yourself constantly. So you're a creative individual. You're creating your life from a place of passion, from a place of purpose, from a place of vision. You're going to constantly be putting yourself out there. And that means that you were always at risk to be rejected. And it never feels good to feel rejected. You put a post out, crickets, no likes, no, engagement. Doesn't feel good. You give the person that you are crushing on a clue and you don't get the response back. It doesn't feel good. You apply for the job and you don't get it. It doesn't feel good. There are so many ways that we can feel rejected. Now, what do we do when we feel rejected? Well, a lot of things, depending on the person that you are, right? But what I want to point out here, what I feel can be really supportive to you right now is let me walk you through my process. And I'm talking about in this day and time, like when I feel rejection now, currently. So, if you've been dialed into me now, I am a very confident woman. My confidence is developed from myself, that validation, my self-worth, my self-love, all of that, right? So I'm just putting that out there. And I still feel rejection at times. And it fucking sucks when I do feel it. So what do I do? First, I acknowledge what I feel. I always acknowledge what I'm feeling, right? Rather than like trying to fight it, like and just push it aside, like right away, I just kind of face it and sit with it for a moment. Like, all right, here we are. Okay, feeling rejected right now. and then, I remind myself this incredible, beautiful gift that I downloaded one day in meditation in conversation with my muse. So for those of you who don't know, it's my highest self, my future self, my ride or die, my everything, my North Star. And she said to me, Rox, nothing means anything except the meaning you decide to give to it. Nothing means anything except the meaning that you decide to give to it. And it really, it's such an emotional neutralizer. And what it does is it just, for me, it puts me back in the driver's seat, right? Because I think one thing that doesn't feel, when we feel rejected, we feel like we don't have control in a way. It's like something else is controlling our emotions, right? But really it's us, right? It's us allowing that to happen. It's us focusing or looking at the situation in a way that is giving away our power, right? And that doesn't mean that whatever is making us feel that sense of rejection isn't actually, like a legitimate scenario that would make one feel rejected, right? But it's more to say that we always have the power to shift our lens, our perspective. And I feel that statement, number one, I believe that it is very true. And number two, I do believe that it helps. So maybe if you're feeling rejected right now somewhere in your life, remind yourself that nothing means anything except the meaning that you decide to give to it. So can you give, and this kind of moves into, the next step, can you look at this in any other way? The situation. Is there, a possibility that you are over, kind of exaggerating a story, or are you, bringing some kind of drama or emotion to the situation that, comes from something in the past or something that has just been bothering you. And now you're kind of, packaging it with this scenario. And then now it's feeling like you're really being rejected. Can you perhaps look at this situation as protection? One of my best friends, Gina Brooke, said this to me decades ago, literally like almost 2 decades ago. She said, rejection is protection. And I was like, damn, girl, that is a fierce statement. And I think in so many scenarios, it's true, because I'm sure that all of you right now can think about a time where you felt rejected or in fact were rejected. And then time moves on and you're like, damn, I dodged a bullet, whatever that was, right? You were being protected. So can you look at the situation from that perspective? There's just the real concept here is just to kind of zoom out from this, kind of judgmental place, right? You're judging the situation and you're looking at it from a harsh lens, and it's not making you feel good. And can you put on my classic student lens glasses, right? And can you look at the situation and try and study it more and learn about it more and see what else is coming up for you from this that may be exaggerating it, or maybe just, maybe just putting you, into a scenario emotionally that really doesn't call for all of the emotions you're feeling. Maybe it does, but the point is, this allows you to become, this is self-mastery, self-regulation. Listen, you might walk away from, this kind of inquisitive moment with yourself and still feel like, well, no, I just genuinely feel rejected from this situation. Okay. But at least you were able to have the discipline, emotional discipline, to just move yourself through this questioning process. Because I'll tell you what, this process is a skill that transfers into so many different other areas of your life or moments of your life, right? You always want to be able, this is also emotional intelligence, self-awareness, right? It all lives in this self-mastery conversation, right? We need to be able to create space between, our reaction and, a stimulus. And again, it may end up after you kind of move yourself through these questions and this processing that it's like, well, no, here's the bottom line. That hurt me because I, voiced some, that I really wanted to, let's just make an example romantically. Okay. I really wanted to, see this person, and this person didn't respond to me or something like that. Right. Another example could be, again, I really wanted that job. I really wanted that opportunity and I didn't get it. And those are, kind of just, okay, it is what it is situations, and maybe, again, this is that thing where it's like you live your way into discovering when you're able to look back, right? Time moves on and you go, oh, actually, that's why that didn't pan out, or not, you don't always have to search for the meaning of things. But I think what I really am trying to drive home here is specifically around rejection, is that rather than just becoming a victim of the feelings that come with rejection, I want you to empower yourself with practices that walk you through the scenario and your emotional state. So then you can decide, is what I'm feeling right now worthy of this, situation? And let's just say that, you conclude, no, this just sucks and it hurts. And, it is what it is. Okay. Then we can move into some self-soothing practices. And that is something that, I'm very grateful that I have been able to develop very strongly in my life. I think it's very important to have a very healthy counsel, and I certainly do. But, throughout my life, and I don't even know where this kind of came from, but whenever there has been a challenge, something for me that's really hitting me hard, rather than running away from it, I've always run towards myself, right? So rather than running from myself, I've ran towards myself. And that doesn't mean that I, don't call my people, because I do. But when I call my people, I've already taken that time to just first be with myself and first move myself through some of the practices that help me kind of emotionally root myself and get myself very centered, right? And also offer myself some comfort. And listen, this is never going to change, but journaling is always the first place that I go. Journaling and then movement. We know that when we change our physiological state, we change our emotional state. And that doesn't mean that your challenge or your issue problem goes away, but it does mean that your emotional response to it, or just your emotional state, is altered at that time, and likely in a, kind of more in a higher vibration, right? You're a little bit more resilient, you're a little bit more strong, maybe more centered, level headed, all of the above. In my own life, that is certainly the case. So journaling and then movement, and that movement will vary depending on where I am, in my cycle, emotionally even. So it could be a long walk, it could be beast mode, just depends on what I need, right? But move, definitely move. So writing, this beautiful sacred space, in my world, it's called my favorite room, my journal, this place that always holds space for me, never judges me. I can literally unravel any single thing that I want, any emotion, any feeling, any thought, any idea, anything, goal, anything. And it just holds space for me, right? And she's always there for me. Just anytime I need her, it's literally open, start rolling 8. So the power of journaling is something that I'm going to continually drill home, because I know in my own life, and even now, the women that I coach, I can't tell you how much progress they make in their emotional discipline and their resilience, and really, in certain outcomes of their life, because they have turned to journaling. And then the other thing, I was thinking, and this is kind of, I'm going to bridge a little bit. Remember the agility part here. So, I was thinking, because I did a thing on Instagram yesterday where I asked my community to ask me questions, and I was asked, about like some healthy morning routine habits, like how to start your morning in a healthy way. And in the show notes, you guys, I have put a link to download a free 5-minute morning meditation, or really it's an anytime meditation for you that I've created, and a free downloadable PDF that gives you some action steps just to help, kind of give you some ideas. I know sometimes it can all feel so overwhelming. Where do I start? So I've just laid it out for you in a PDF that's really easy. And if things resonate, great, start there and try and ritualize the process. And if not, then you create your own, right? But just tools to help you. So just want to get that out of the way, that is in the show notes for you. But what I was thinking about, on this run, and it goes back to the answer to that question, is this idea of being a, human being or a human doing. And, I think that it comes down to being both, right? Like I was just drawing an 8 with my hands, and thinking about the center of an 8 and infinity, right? It's important to move into action, right? The human doing. It's equally important to be, the human being, right? And so what does that look like? So this was my answer, well, this is the part of the answer that I want to share that I think is really important. When my daily list is not just a to-do list, right? Like I certainly have my priorities, the top 3 needle movers, and then the other tasks and things that I need to get done to keep everything moving and going and to live my life essentially. But I also create and this actually lives more in my journal, but it's my to feel list. And a lot of times it's in meditation. My muse asked me, what are the 3 things that you really want to feel today? Right. And because these feelings are energies, right? So, a lot of times I'll write on my wrist too, like a dominant energy. It could be magnetic. It could be bold. It could be, whatever it is, valiant. But it's all meant to lead me, right? To kind of anchor myself in this energy. So when you think about like creating a to feel list, you are being very intentional about what it is that you want to experience on an energetic level in your day. And that is so important, right? Because again, we're not just human doers, we're human beings, right? So, but if we're not even being conscious of that, again, so this goes back into like the conversation around emotional discipline, emotional, regulation, because I don't think that most people are conscious oh, wait, let me set my intentions for how I really, and like very specifically too, not just like, oh, I want to have a great day. Oh, I want to have a powerful day. But what does that mean? Like, what do you want to feel? What's the dominating energy that you want to be moving yourself through in the day? And what are you going to do and not do to see that you're living that experience? Like, what do you need to say yes to in order to hold yourself in those energies? What do you need to say no to in order to keep yourself rooted powerfully in these very intentional feelings and energies that you want to be moving yourself with and through your day from, right? So it's just something else to think about. And what else, what this gives to you guys, aside from, the beautiful experience of it, but, of like, being intentional and feeling these feelings and actually, moving yourself throughout your day with it. But here's the thing. And this is something I talk about a lot in my coaching and my mentoring. It lives in my 5S roadmap to self-mastery. If you're not familiar with it, save it for another podcast. Self-connection. You're connecting with yourself. And that's so important because we need this. We're in us until we're out of here. I say it all the time. You are in you until you're out of here, right? I know I said it earlier in the podcast too. And so how do you come to love yourself? How do you come to, get into this place of real ownership of self? That's a whole nother solo episode, acceptance versus ownership. I'll craft that one at another time. But I stand for ownership, you know, owning who I am, right? Not just accepting, hey, world, this is fucking who I am, like it or not. Like, I'm showing up as me, right? How do you get there? Well, you have to be very rooted in yourself. You have to feel a deep sense of connection. And every time you do, things like this that I just mentioned, like your to feel list, right? And you get very intentional about how you want to feel moving through your day, like the dominant, empowered energies. Life is going to keep coming at you, man, right? It's coming at us every fucking day. Like it or not, it's happening. But we have so much more power in our response to life. We have so much more power than we realize, or put into practice rather. How we lead ourselves to face life, to create our life, right? And I feel so passionate about sharing these little tips, such as your to feel list, because they empower you. So I think, the message that I really want to drive home around this to feel list is this: you have so much more power than you realize every single day to be intentional about how you want to experience yourself emotionally in your day-to-day life. And your emotions are really powerful, creators. Like it's all energy. And, if you're walking around and you're feeling like shit all day, I mean, first of all, giving you a big hug, truly, but, it's not going to bring you experiences that are going to make you feel better or things that you want, right? If you're walking around and you're feeling really good and sort of high vibing, you're going to be calling in. And it's not even about like doing this for that, but you will be calling in, more experiences that feel really good. But let's just say no opportunity or nothing. You know what? Let me give you another example. You walk around and you're feeling really good energetically, you're going to be able to capture the beauty that surrounds you every single day. The sunrise or sunset, depending on where you live, what direction, the hummingbird that flies by, just like all of the little things, like the glistening ocean, wherever you live, you know what I mean? Everyone's got a different environment. But my point is to say that the power lives within us. It really does. So drawing out a very intentional list of how you would like to feel. And for me, I like to kind of pick 3 energies, keep it simple, and keep it focused, and I run with it, and I hold myself into these energies to the best of my ability. And, what's also great about it is that if and when, and this certainly happens, because again, life is fucking coming after us, right? If I get rocked or if something throws me off, I go back to those 3 energies and they root me. So just to kind of put a bow on this, don't just be a human doing, be a human being. And actually there's some tactics to help you do that. And one of which I just shared is create a to feel list next to your to-do list. Or like me, maybe put your to feel in your journal and your to do in your planner, however you want to do it. But I really do believe in the power of doing this. And again, it really comes back to just creating a much deeper relationship with yourself. And that is one of my driving missions in everything that I create, do, share through Black Belt Beauty, through my coaching, Queendom, everything, is to bring you home to your most empowered, authentic self. Because the power that lives in that version of you is unfucking stoppable and unfucking breakable. And that's what I know I'm here to do, to shine the light on that path that is within you, that is you, that brings you home to that version of you. So I think that's it. for this solo episode right now. Oh my gosh, you guys, yesterday I sat down and I recorded a solo episode, and I, went back later to watch it, and there was a technical issue and the sound didn't work. So, I had spent 40 minutes rapping out about authenticity. I'll bring it back. But it was just such a bummer. And it's so funny, when these things happen to me at this stage, because I'm really big on this whole, I've talked about this a lot, but, for those of you who are not familiar with the refractory period in psychology, it's, stimulus happens, you have a response emotionally, right? We have like our baseline, like how we're just, generally moving throughout our day emotionally. Stimulus happens, takes you away from baseline. And that refractory period is how long it takes you to get back from baseline. And I've always, before I even knew what the refractory period was, I was always so just turned on by this idea of, because I love composure and I love that steadiness of emotion, not robotic at all. Obviously, I'm fucking super passionate and fiery and all the things, but like, just to be so regulated and emotionally disciplined, right? Because there's so much power in that, right? And so I was always really attracted to this idea of like, how do I close that gap, and every stimulus is going to, some things need time, right? Some things really maybe hurt, and it takes time to process to get back to a state where you're more, you've departed from the melancholy and, you're back into a good place, a happy place. But anyways, when these kind of situations happen, like the solo episode and the technical issue, at this stage, I just kind of laugh it off a bit, because the value of my frustration, how funny is that? Like I'm putting value on my frustration. But it's an energy that I don't want to just be throwing out all the time, because to be honest, it doesn't feel good. Right. So it's something that I really only want to have to live through when it's really worthy of that, and then I'll move myself through the process, whatever. But that was not worthy of it, right? It was annoying as fuck. I really loved what I shared for all of you. But again, it's not like it's scripted. I just kind of channel this stuff, and I will come back to another solo episode and share it with you and for you. But the point is like, yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe you take whatever you need from that and I'll just leave it there. But I'm happy. I'm so happy that this 5-mile run just, conjured up what I shared with you in this episode. And I really, really hope that, because I know it was a mix of two things. But I really hope that, and always that it strengthened you in some area of self, right? Mind, heart, spirit, all the above, because that is what I am here to do. That is the purpose behind every single piece of content that I create. It's to empower you. It's to show you the hope that lives within you, that and to point you in directions that keep you strong, that keep you rooted and connected to your whole self, right? Your whole self. So I'm going to feed myself, my whole self. And you guys, let me know. Did this do anything for you in a way that, really supported you, or just any feedback? Really, I really, really love and value your feedback. DM me, Roxy Look on Instagram. Put it in the comments underneath the post for this episode. Email, it's all there for you on social. If you have not given this podcast a 5-star rating review, please do so. I and my team, we work so hard, and it's external validation. This is where external validation matters, you guys, because we put our heart and soul into every aspect of all of these episodes. And we just want to know, that it's really doing something for you. And I know it asks you to work, but I put a very easy link. So whatever phone you have, like anything, it's just all there. Click on the link, super easy. It literally takes a minute, unless you want to really dig deep into a review. It might take longer, and I appreciate that. Whatever it is, like, bring it. So, all right, you guys, with all my heart, I say thank you. And I love, love, love being here with you and for you. And I'm always looking forward to being back here with you and for you. So I will see you on the next one.